So 3 months ago, we sat in this very room, discovered we were both doing some research around digital transformation, from strategic to operational and the human side of it. We decided to pool resources, and 3 months later, we've got an amazing piece of research.
It's even faster than that.
Well, yes.
Yeah. And what do? We went out to just under 2,000 people across North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific, and we asked leaders what was the state of digital and their view on it. And the outcomes have it's been so exciting, and which is why we pulled it together so fast.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the most stunning pieces that came out of it is the readiness state of leadership in the organisations right across the world, although there is another point on that, isn't there, around how the individual territories have performed.
But initially, I mean, as a first key takeaway, the biggest surprise for me was that digital, even though people know about it, they are not ready for it. What do I mean by that? Only about just over 50% of leaders said that digital was a key part of their 2019 strategy. Yeah. And that really surprised me. So I thought from our conversations and from the work we do with our clients, it would be much higher.
Well, it's interesting because when you dive deep into that number, what the reality is that people are thinking about it, but they're getting to the edge and not stepping off that precipice because simply they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's at leadership level.
Yeah.
So if they don't know that and they're trying to drive digital strategy, it becomes piecemeal. And if it becomes piecemeal, there's a higher chance of failure rates rather than whole business transformation.
And I fully agree, because what we are seeing is that digital executions are failing even more frequently than past. And what's happening is leaders aren't realizing that it's a whole business transformation.
And what they also have to realize that this is all about future readiness and competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And one of the big pieces that we found out of that is how across the traditional West versus East, there's now a leveling of the playing field, isn't there?
Yeah. And it's a leveling playing field, and what should be concerning the West is that the East is moving fast. So not only now can anyone compete globally because we're all at the same starting point for digital, but the speed of which we're adopting digital seems to be happening much more in the East, which you'll be familiar with because you've just moved from Singapore back to Europe, so you've seen it yourself that the pace in the West seems to be slower.
The two key things, first of all, is that the East is leapfrogging the traditional journey. They're getting there quicker, but they're accelerating as well. You look at markets like India, Vietnam, China, Singapore. What's very evident, and particularly from the research in Europe, is that it's red tape and bureaucracy which is getting in the way and starting to slow things down. So not only have we not got that strategy right yet, but we're not likely to get there because there's too much in place. And that's not just at organisational level. In some places, that's at country or even regional level.
And you're actually starting to reveal what we put inside the paper, which under each of the different questions, there's a conclusion summarizing what the research means, but even more importantly for the reader is the other section that we put in, which is what to do. Because we find many leaders today that you and I have talked about are looking and saying to us, okay, so how do we do this? And then also, as the model that we put at the end, if you want to share.
Yeah, well, that really for us is our key question is how do we make the alarm bells ring in the boardroom much quicker, and how do we help them through it?
Yeah.
So for us, it was really key that we didn't want just a piece of research that had a bunch of data on it. So you're absolutely right. We got that interpretation out there, but then did a lot of work on what are those key steps of success. So how can we help fast track that journey for everybody and get through, give them the tips, the tricks, and the traps to avoid, because we've done it.
And anyone and everyone can download the paper, and we'll send them the link.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Jeremy.